Welcome back to the Emerging Technology. Welcome back to video number 2 for the Emerging Technologies lecture. And without further ado, here we go. I'll talk briefly about artificial intelligence adoption because that is ongoing, of course. But what I've seen this past year is that robotic process automation and interest in that technology is rising. The U.S. government is also getting much more active in trying to guide the market, not regulate, but incent the market for AI techniques and technologies in every single industry, to include healthcare. And in our industry specifically, the focus is really on clinical applications more than other areas. Revenue cycle is probably the second most looked at area, particularly in robotic process automation and analysis techniques. But AI adoption is continuing in our space, albeit at a slower pace than other industries. I want to reserve the bulk of my discussion on AI, however, on something that's fundamentally going to change the industry, I believe. And that's foundation AI. When we see this information published in business magazines like The Economist and papers like the Wall Street Journal and Financial Times and others, a very specific technique like foundation AI, then you can be assured that this is something that is substantial and is going to have an impact in every single industry. Now, what foundation AI is, it's intended to be the base for all AI systems to be built on top of these things. And how they're attempting to do that is by ingesting a huge amount of data, terabytes and terabytes of data. The second largest system now, GPT-3, has 45 terabytes of data inside it. GPT-3 stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And what that means is the developers of these AI engines have trained it partially, and it's up to the end user to dial in the specific training for their specific need. But because these systems are ingesting books, textbooks, dictionaries, mathematical text, any sort of text data you can imagine, and the applicability of these foundational AI systems is really surprising to a lot of people. And that's the really cool thing about these systems, is that they train themselves. If you ever used the system Mad Libs, when you were a kid, when someone would have a piece of paper and say, give me a noun, give me a verb, give me an adjective, and then they would read back the story by filling the words you gave to the Mad Lib story, and everyone thought it was fun. Well, that's actually how these systems train themselves. They take the text and remove a word and then try to guess what the word or value should be. These foundational systems are remarkable, and there's great promise in healthcare. And briefly, I want to talk about federated learning. This is becoming more and more popular and something you might see in your organization. It's where one provider has a data set, and maybe the government has a data set, or other providers have a data set, and all the organizations that share the data collectively use that data to train their AI systems. And in this way, you can have a more accurate, more valuable AI system with the more training data that you have. And this is actually a fairly well-known topic in AI. You could almost think of it like crowdsourcing in a small way. Every single Android phone was reporting data back to Google about what the next character is on the words they were typing. Google translated that into an AI system that helps the applications on the phone guess which word you're trying to type to save you those couple keystrokes. So that's a practical use for federated learning in an AI system. My last topic for today is on health inequities. This is a huge topic, and we touched on it when we talked about algorithm biases earlier in the semester. Attacking the problem of health inequity is becoming something that's really noticeable now in industry. ONC, for example, including the SOGI and SDOH data and tribal data in the demographics for the patient, is a big step in that direction. Also, these foundation AI models, it turns out, had a whole lot of bias in them because it was being trained on actual data generated from humans. But the foundation AI tools, however, do give us a chance to spot biases that we maybe did not know were in our training data sets. But I think the real topical thing here is how COVID-19 has sharpened our senses on health inequities. Many studies from government agencies, NIH, CDC, CMS, everybody, ONC, departments of public health and other state organizations, institutions, Mayo and others, Johns Hopkins, universities, Harvard, charitable trusts like Kaiser Family Foundation, Pew, and others. Everyone, it seems, has studied COVID-19 through the health equity lens. So this was a whirlwind through some up-to-date topics. But if you have any questions at all, please feel free to contact me at my Charter Oak email or on LinkedIn. Certainly connect there and stay in touch even after the class is over. Let me be a resource for you. I'm happy to do that when you have healthcare IT questions. But I thank you for your attention to this quick lecture. Good luck in your research. Good luck in the rest of your classes. And thank you so much for your attention all semester. Take care all. Bye-bye.